It begins like any ordinary morning, until it isn't. A black woman strides into a courthouse, poised, confident, unaware she's about to be attacked by those meant to protect justice. They see her as insignificant, mock her, degrade her, chuckling as they cross lines, but they've misjudged her. She's not just anyone, she's the one with the power to unravel their world legally. What unfolds is a torrent of accountability, revelation, and a courtroom twist that turns everything upside down. Stay tuned, you're not prepared for this. Just past 7:45 a.m., Adrienne Carter, 52, steps from her charcoal Lexus and ascends the granite steps of the Richmond Federal Courthouse. The rising sun filters through ancient oak trees, casting dappled shadows. She adjusts her emerald blazer, grips a sleek briefcase, and moves forward, heels tapping rhythmically. No judicial robe, she prefers entering as a citizen, understated yet watchful. But today, she's not received as a judge. To them, she's just a black woman in a place where power feels foreign. At the security checkpoint, the mood shifts as Adrienne approaches. Deputy Carl Benton, 47, a bailiff with a reputation for inflexibility, squints as she nears the metal detectors. He doesn't know her and doesn't care to. Stepping forward, arms crossed, he raises a hand. "Ma'am, step aside," he barks, voice rough. Adrienne pauses briefly. "Is there an issue, officer?" Benton ignores her, eyes scanning her from her neatly braided hair to her polished shoes. Her confidence irritates him. She seems too at ease, too authoritative. Benton doesn't respond immediately. Something about Adrienne's calm demeanor unsettles him. She looks like she belongs, and that grates against his worldview. "No ID visible. You can't just stroll into a federal building like that," he mutters. Adrienne calmly pulls her judicial badge from her blazer. It shines under the fluorescent lights, but Benton barely glances at it, pocketing it dismissively. She arches a brow. "I need that back." He steps closer, smirking. "In a hurry, darling?" The word stings like a slap. A younger guard, a woman in her 20s, fidgets by the X-ray machine, sensing the tension but staying silent. Adrienne's voice firms. "I need to reach a courtroom." Benton snaps. "You'll follow my rules." Random checks apply. Without waiting, he grips her arm, steering her down a side corridor to a stark screening room. The air is cold, sterile. A metal chair sits in the center beside a cart of scanning gear and a pair of clippers. Adrienne's pulse spikes, but her face remains composed. "I don't consent to this," Adrienne states clearly. "You have no grounds to hold me." Benton sneers. "You're acting shady. That's grounds enough." He gestures to the chair. "Sit." She stands firm. He leans in, voice low. That badge you flashed means nothing here." Two more officers enter, a man in his 30s with a buzz cut and another holding the chair's side. Adrienne's voice sharpens. "This is illegal. I want your names." No one replies. Benton grabs the clippers, his intent clear. "What are you doing?" Adrienne demands. "Standard procedure," Benton says, eyeing her braids. Could be hiding something in that mess. She tries to stand, but a firm hand shoves her back. The clippers hum to life, a menacing buzz filling the room. Before she can react, cold metal grazes her scalp. A thick braid falls, then another. Her breath catches, but she refuses to break. She sits rigid, eyes forward, as her dignity is stripped away, piece by piece. Laughter erupts from one guard. "She's looking sharper already," he jeers. Benton wipes hair from his sleeve. "Now you're presentable." Adrienne's fists tighten, knuckles whitening, but her voice remains steady. "You'll pay for this." He scoffs, leaning close. "People like you always talk big." The ordeal ends abruptly. Benton opens the door, gesturing to the hall. "Courtroom's that way," he mocks. Adrienne rises, hands steady, retrieves her badge without a word, and steps out, her resolve hardening with every step. The hallway feels oppressive, but Adrienne's steps are measured, her expression unreadable. Inside, a fire burns, not rage, but purpose. She wasn't here to observe or defend. She's the judge, about to take her bench. The clipper's hum lingers in her ears, a reminder of the violation. Her scalp stings where her braids once hung, years of heritage now scattered on a cold floor. She passes clerks who glance at her, then avert their eyes. They know, they saw. None speak. Adrienne doesn't falter. She moves toward the courtroom, each step heavier, not from fear, but from restrained fury. The silence chokes the air. Down the hall, voices hum from behind double doors. It's a major morning. A police misconduct hearing. Officers accused of brutality during a protest last year. National spotlight. Heavy press. Adrienne was meant to enter through private chambers, robed, staff ready. But today, that ritual feels irrelevant. She pauses, inhales deeply, then pushes the doors wide open. The courtroom falls silent. Conversations halt, heads turn. Adrienne's heels echo on the marble floor as she strides past attorneys, reporters, plaintiffs, and defendants. Confusion ripples, then recognition. Behind the bench, her chair waits, empty. The woman they saw escorted like a suspect, scalp marred by cruelty, isn't a victim. She's the judge. Adrienne steps behind the bench, facing the room. Her presence is a quiet storm. A pen drops near the defense table. The bailiff, Benton, freezes, his face draining of color. Adrienne's gaze locks onto Benton's. His mouth opens, but no sound escapes. She doesn't flinch. Slowly, she reaches for her robe, folded over the chair's arm. No assistance, no ceremony. She slips it on, the fabric settling like armor. Turning to the clerk, she asks, "Docket ready?" Her voice is even. The clerk stammers, "Yes, Your Honor." Adrienne sits, the leather creaking softly. She faces the room. We begin with Case 8423G, United States versus Richmond Police Department. The hearing starts. Charges of excessive force, abuse of power, and civil rights violations hang heavy. Attorneys shift, some wide-eyed, others defensive. Adrienne's voice cuts through. "All parties present?" Murmurs of "Yes, Your Honor" echo. She ignores the tension, calling the first witness, an officer involved in the protest incident. He takes the stand, posture rigid. Adrienne listens, notes in hand, asking no questions yet. From the corner of her eye, she sees Benton edging toward the back, hands twitching, desperate to vanish. The officer testifies about crowd control, claiming protesters were aggressive. Adrienne's pen moves steadily, her face unreadable. She knows his type, polished, trained to deflect. After the second witness, she calls a recess. The room empties in a haze of whispers. Adrienne remains seated. When only her clerk, two officers, and Benton linger, she fixes her gaze on him. "Deputy Benton," she says, voice like a blade. He freezes mid-step. "Step forward." His mouth stammers, "Yes, Your Honor." The air tightens. Adrienne motions to the courtroom center. "Now." Benton shuffles forward, eyes darting. "State your name for the record." He blinks. Carl Benton." She leans forward. "How long have you served here?" 16 years, he mumbles. Her pen taps once, twice. "And in those years, how many women have you assaulted in that screening room?" His face pales. Your Honor, I didn't know." She cuts him off. "That's not what I asked." The room is deathly still, his panic palpable. "How many complaints filed against you, Deputy Benton?" Adrienne's voice is precise, unrelenting. I'm not sure, he stutters. She raises her tone, not in volume but in clarity. 14. 14 formal complaints, all buried, all dismissed. You hid behind procedure. His mouth trembles. I didn't know who you were, she snaps. That's the issue. You thought I was nobody. Just another black woman to intimidate, to strip down for amusement. Silence suffocates the room. Benton's words fail him. Adrienne rises, robe sweeping. Because of you, this courthouse, this supposed bastion of justice, is tainted. Your actions question its sanctity. And because you assaulted a federal judge in her own courthouse, you're now under criminal investigation. She turns to the officers. Escort Deputy Benton into custody, separate from general population. Charges to follow. They move swiftly, cuffs ready. Benton protests, no, wait, but it's too late. Adrienne's already done it. The courtroom feels different now, its air heavier, shifted. Benton, once a symbol of control, is led out in cuffs, badge stripped, power gone. The silence lingers, thick with the hum of ceiling fans and staff's averted glances. They've known for years, said nothing. Adrienne sits, hands clasped, robe like steel. There's no undoing this. Something's changed, not just in her, but in the room itself. Her clerk enters cautious. Your Honor, next witnesses are prepped. Adrienne nods. How long? 10 minutes. She exhales, feeling Benton the weight of the morning settle. The gallery waits, jurors, reporters, the public trickling back. Benton's presence lingers like a stain. Adrienne's scalp still stings, a reminder of the violation, but her resolve is ironclad. She glances at the empty benches, knowing the world outside is watching. The day's already shattered expectations, and it's barely noon. A creak sounds behind her. A young intern, Lisa, 22, steps in, glasses fogged from rushing. She's pale, hesitant. Adrienne nods. Everything okay, Lisa? Lisa closes the door, voice barely audible. I saw what happened with Benton this morning. Outside the screening room, I didn't know what to do. I should have spoken up. I was scared. Adrienne studies her trembling hands, then softens. Thank you for saying that. It matters. Lisa's eyes glisten. I didn't stop it. Adrienne replies, but you're speaking now. That's more than most. Lisa straightens. If you need me to testify, I will. Adrienne's hand rests briefly on hers, a quiet gesture. The courtroom doors creak, heavier now. The public returns. Adrienne stands. All rise, the clerk calls, voice steadier. The room complies, even those who'd laughed at Benton's jokes behind closed doors. Adrienne sits. Court is back in session. The atmosphere shifts, sharp, subtle. Power is no longer in question. This isn't just a hearing, it's a reckoning. The next witness, James Tillman, 42, a black father, takes the stand. His eyes are weary but resolute, hands calloused from warehouse work. Tillman testifies about his 16-year-old son, beaten during a peaceful protest by officers now at the defense table. One knelt on the boy's neck, nearly killing him. 9 months later, the teen still whispers. Tillman recounts begging for medics, being told he's faking. No discipline followed. Adrienne listens, unmoving, every word a weight. His voice breaks. I just want it to mean something. She meets his gaze, human to human. You've been heard. The room feels the cut of truth. Tillman steps down, passing the officers who nearly took his son. Adrienne calls a recess. In her chambers, she stares at her reflection. Uneven scalp, raw patches. Not a judge's face, but a survivor's. A knock, her clerk, hesitant. Your Honor, the DA's office submitted a motion. They're escalating charges against Benton, federal civil rights violations. Adrienne nods. Accepted. The door shuts. She breathes, not relief, but resolve. The day's not over. The real storm is still brewing, and she's ready. The courtroom fills again, electric with anticipation. Adrienne steps to the bench, her presence undeniable. No bailiff calls her, just her heels on hardwood, robe rustling. The room rises instinctively. She pauses, scanning the defendants, press, attorneys, and onlookers, all waiting. Would this be a moment or a movement? She taps the gavel. Court is in session. The air settles. She turns to the prosecution. Call your next witness. The room hushes, ready for what's next. The weight of history pressing close. The silence holds, thick with expectation. Adrienne's gaze sweeps the room, unflinching. The next witness, a lieutenant, will face her scrutiny. She knows his type, polished, untouchable, trained to evade. But today, evasion won't suffice. The prosecution begins, and Adrienne listens, pen poised, ready to carve truth from deflection. The morning's violation fuels her, not as vengeance, but as clarity. This courthouse, this system, will answer. Not just to her, but to everyone. It's failed. The fight is only beginning. Adrienne Monroe. Carter gazes out her chamber's window at the swelling crowd below. Protesters, reporters, citizens clutching signs. Justice now. Protect black women. The air hums with their resolve. She closes her eyes, not to retreat, but to absorb the weight of truth clawing its way free after years buried under bureaucracy. A knock breaks her thoughts. Her clerk, hesitant, steps in with a man Adrienne hasn't seen in years, Reverend Samuel Tate, 62, a civil rights veteran. His presence carries quiet strength. Judge Carter, he begins softly. Reverend, Adrienne replies, standing. I won't keep you long, Tate says. Just know we're outside, watching, supporting what you're doing. She nods, throat tightening. He hands her a folded paper. These are names, victims of Benton, others like him. They were never heard, but they're ready to speak now. Adrienne unfolds it. Names, numbers, notes scrawled in ink. The list is long. How many are new? She asks. Most, Tate replies. Some were silenced years ago. Now they're not afraid. Adrienne's eyes linger on the list. These aren't just names. They're the ignored, the dismissed. They were told it wasn't worth it, Tate adds. She meets his gaze. They were wrong. It's worth it now. His faint smile carries years of shared struggle. As he leaves, Adrienne clutches the paper, its weight heavier than the gavel. The courtroom awaits, now packed, buzzing with Denise Walker's testimony. Her words about buried complaints spreading like wildfire. Reporters stream live. Onlookers peer through windows, drawn to the reckoning. Adrienne re-enters, the room rising instinctively. Not just for her title, but for what she embodies. The gavel taps once. We're ready to proceed. The next witness, unexpected, is a U.S. Marshal, Michael Evans, 48, black, with a slight limp from a decades-old injury. He served here years ago and now returns to unburden a truth. Sworn in, he adjusts the mic. I worked this courthouse 2005 to 2013, he says. I saw too much, stayed quiet too long. I'm here to fix that. Evans' voice is steady. Benton wasn't just tough, he was dangerous. Started with snide remarks, over-policing black folks, then escalated by 2011. I filed a report once. It vanished. Adrienne nods, giving him space. The prosecutor asks, Did you follow up? Evans sighs. I was told Benton was necessary for handling certain people. The gallery murmurs in disgust. Adrienne's gavel silences them. Evans leans forward. I left because the silence ate at me. But Judge Carter, your strength today, it's bigger than this bench. The room holds its breath. Adrienne feels the weight of Evans' words, not as praise, but as history unfolding. She doesn't speak. Sometimes truth needs to echo. The next morning, the courthouse feels heavier, clouds pressing low over Richmond. In her chambers, Adrienne sits with a sealed folder labeled Internal Records, delivered silently by an administrator. She opens it cautiously. Inside, memos, emails, signatures. 14 complaints against Benton, all dismissed. The name signing each denial stings. Judge Leonard Hayes, 70, her former mentor, once her guide. Adrienne reads a memo from Hayes to Security, dated 6 years ago. Benton's firm keeps order with difficult groups. Let it be. Her fingers tighten, crumpling the page. This isn't just Benton. It's the system shielding him, endorsing cruelty for order. She leans back, staring at her reflection in the desk's gloss. Scarred scalp, fierce eyes. A knock, her clerk, nervous. Your Honor, the Senate Judiciary Committee requests your statement on oversight failures. Adrienne's lips twitch humorlessly. Now they care. The fight's escalating, and she's ready. There's more, the clerk adds. 3 retired judges resigned this morning, citing personal reasons. Adrienne stands, unflinching. Bring in the attorneys, all of them. We're ending this today. An hour later, the courtroom is overflowing. Reporters from CNN, The Guardian, locals, law students crammed in front rows, notebooks open. This isn't just Richmond anymore, it's global. Adrienne takes her seat, gavel sharp. Court is in session. She addresses the room. Before closing arguments, new evidence enters the record. Benton's complaints, their suppression, and who allowed it. Her clerk distributes copies of the folder. The defense attorney, flustered, tries to object. Adrienne's hand rises. Sit. Her voice is quiet but final. She faces the gallery. This court won't protect systems over people anymore. Silence isn't neutrality. Her gaze pierces the defense. Every signature here chose to ignore victims, protect predators, uphold fear disguised as order. That ends now. A hush blankets the room. A reporter's pen freezes mid-stroke. Adrienne's words aren't just a law. They're a line drawn in stone. A voice breaks the silence. Your Honor? A man in his mid-60s stands by the door, hesitant. Adrienne nods. He steps forward, clutching a cap. I'm Walter Green. In 2012, Benton arrested me here for arguing my son's case dismissal. He slammed me against a wall, cracked my ribs. Adrienne listens. Did you file a complaint? Green nods. At the front desk, they said I fell. Report vanished. He straightens. I'm here now. Adrienne's gaze softens. Thank you. The room feels heavier, truth rising. Adrienne speaks. Anyone else? A pause, then hands rise. 1, 5, 12. Men, women, young, old. Each with a story of Benton's cruelty silenced until now. Adrienne watches, unmoving, as voices long buried surface. The courtroom isn't just a room anymore. It's a crucible. She calls a recess, the gallery buzzing. Reporters type frantically. Advocates scribble notes. A woman in the back mouths, "Thank you," as Adrienne passes. In her chambers, she removes her robe, staring at it. Symbol of power, yet so fragile. The robe hangs unassuming, yet it transforms how people see her. Hours ago, without it, she was stripped, humiliated. With it, she commands. The contradiction burns in her veins. A knock, her clerk, urgent. Your Honor, someone from the DOJ wants to speak. Adrienne straightens. Send them in. A woman in a navy suit enters, composed, handing over a sealed letter. Judge Carter, I'm with Civil Rights. What happened this morning is a Title 18 violation. As a federal judge was targeted, we're acting fast. Adrienne unfolds the letter. The courthouse is under federal review. She nods. Good. Start with supervisors who buried those 14 complaints, then the judges who approved. The woman pauses. Judge Carter, the footage of this morning, it's viral. CNN, X, even senators are talking. Adrienne shakes her head faintly. I didn't do it for them. The woman smiles. That's why it matters. She leaves. Adrienne sinks into her chair, the next defense team's footsteps echoing outside. The fight's far from over, but she's unshaken. The courtroom hums with tension, packed beyond capacity. Word of Adrienne's stand, Benton's arrest, and the viral video has spread. Camera crews swarm outside. Civil rights lawyers fly in from New York, Miami. It's not just a case. It's history unfolding. Adrienne's clerk leans in. Defense attorneys are here requesting special counsel. Adrienne raises a brow. On what grounds? They claim the case is compromised, that you're personally biased. She exhales slowly. Of course, they'd attack her, not the facts. I'll answer on record. Adrienne steps out, the room rising. All rise, the clerk calls. She takes her place, gavel tapping. Be seated. The air shifts, taut. A defense attorney, mid-50s, polished, rises. Your Honor, we request special counsel due to recent events. Adrienne cuts in. You mean Benton's arrest and my assault? He falters. Yes, Your Honor. She leans forward. And your concern is? He clears his throat. A potential conflict, a perception of bias. The gallery stirs, murmurs rising. Adrienne's gaze is unflinching, ready to respond. You're suggesting my assault disqualifies me from my duties? Adrienne's voice is calm, cutting. The attorney shifts. I'm suggesting the appearance of impartiality. She stops him. Enough. Standing, she moves to the bench's edge. I was attacked, humiliated, not for my actions, but for who I am, a black woman who dared enter this space. And what did I do? I took my seat, followed every rule, remained composed despite your client's actions. The attorney's jaw tightens, sensing the room turn against him. Adrienne's voice sharpens. Real bias is a man using clippers to shear a woman's hair without cause, without asking her name. Real bias is 14 complaints buried by this courthouse. She leans forward, eyes locked on the attorney. You want to discuss conflict? Let's discuss judges who enabled Benton, prosecutors who ignored victims, your firm's history defending abusers. He opens his mouth, but she's unstoppable. This court proceeds. I won't recuse. Appeal, if you want. I'll provide the forms. The gavel taps. Next witness. The prosecution calls Vivian Brooks, 54, a former courthouse record supervisor, black, poised in a gray suit. Adrienne knows her, not just from files, but from years of quiet efficiency. Sworn in, Vivian adjusts her glasses. The prosecutor begins. Ms. Brooks, your role here? Records supervisor 10 years, she says. Before that, front desk. Were you aware of complaints against Benton? Vivian's eyes harden. Yes, too many. How many? 14 formal, at least 20 informal. The room stirs. Adrienne listens, pen still, truth unfolding. What happened to those complaints? The prosecutor asks. Vivian glances at Adrienne, then speaks deliberately. They were mishandled. Some marked resolved falsely. Others disappeared. Murmurs ripple. Who ordered that? Vivian pauses, then says, Judge Leonard Hayes. The name lands like thunder. Hayes, retired last year, was Adrienne's mentor, revered. Now his shadow cracks. Why suppress them? The prosecutor presses. Vivian's voice trembles. He said it'd weaken public trust, make the courthouse look bad. Adrienne's face is stone, but the betrayal cuts deep. That excuse, preserving appearances, echoes lies Adrienne's heard before. Justice delayed for optics, abuse ignored for order. Vivian grows bolder. I saw Benton intimidate black interns, harass witnesses. I reported it but was told that's how it is. Her voice cracks. Not anymore. Adrienne's throat tightens. This testimony doesn't just build a case, it exposes a system. She calls a recess. The room stands as she exits. A young reporter whispers, "She's not just judging. She's rewriting justice." The words linger, heavy with truth. Outside, the courthouse steps pulse with life. What began as a few cameras is now a sea of protesters. Black, white, young, old, holding signs, chanting softly. It's not chaos but focus, a collective demand for change. Adrienne watches from her chambers, signs clear. No more silence. Accountability now. The energy is raw, undeniable. She feels it, not as pressure but as purpose. The morning's violation, the buried complaints, the system's complicity, it's all surfacing. And she's at the center, unyielding, ready for what's next. A knock, her clerk, cautious. "Your Honor, the defense is pushing harder for recusal. They're calling the case tainted." Adrienne's eyes narrow. Let them try. She steps back to the bench, the courtroom packed, air electric. "All rise," the clerk calls. Adrienne sits, gavel sharp. "Be seated." The defense attorney rises again, bolder. "Your Honor, we reiterate our request for special counsel. The incident with Benton compromises impartiality." Adrienne's gaze is ice. "You're questioning my ability to judge fairly after I was attacked?" The attorney presses. "We're concerned about perception." Adrienne cuts in, voice like steel. "Perception? I was assaulted for being a black woman in this courthouse. I followed protocol, upheld decorum, despite your client's actions. That's not bias, that's strength." The gallery murmurs, nodding. She continues, "Bias is ignoring 14 complaints, enabling a predator like Benton. Bias is your firm defending officers with abuse records." The attorney falters. Adrienne's tone is final. "I won't step down, proceed, or appeal. Your choice." The gavel falls. The room settles, the attorney deflated. Adrienne's stand is unshakable, her authority absolute. The prosecution recalls Vivian Brooks, who resumes with renewed fire. "I watched Benton's cruelty grow unchecked," she says. "Young black staff were searched daily, witnesses dismissed. I spoke up, got shut down." Her eyes meet Adrienne's. "But today, I'm heard." The testimony cracks open years of silence, exposing not just Benton, but the courthouse's complicity. Adrienne nods subtly, signaling Vivian to continue, each word a chisel against injustice. The gallery leans in, riveted. Vivian's voice rises. "Hayes told me complaints would destabilize the system. But that system protected abusers, not justice." Adrienne's pen pauses, her mentor's betrayal a fresh wound. Yet she remains composed, the weight of the robe grounding her. This isn't just about Benton anymore, it's about dismantling the machinery that shielded him. The courtroom hums with anticipation, every eye on Adrienne. She's not just presiding, she's reshaping what justice means, and the world is watching. Adrienne Carter stands at the bench, her presence a quiet storm reshaping the courtroom. The gallery watches, breathless, as she addresses the defense. "You speak of bias, but let's talk truth. Real bias is a system that buries complaints to protect men like Benton. that silences victims for order. Her voice cuts, unwavering. This court won't bend to that anymore. She sits, gavel tapping once. The prosecution calls their next witness and the room leans in, sensing history shift under Adrian's unyielding gaze. The witness, Eleanor Ramsey, 49, a black former courthouse clerk, steps forward. Sharp in a navy blazer, she carries years of quiet resilience. Adrian knows her, diligent, overlooked, a keeper of secrets. Sworn in, Eleanor adjusts her scarf. The prosecutor begins. Ms. Ramsey, your role here? Clerk, then records manager, 12 years, she says firmly. Did you handle complaints against Deputy Benton? Eleanor's jaw tightens. Yes. 16 formal, dozens informal. The gallery stirs. What happened to them? Eleanor's eyes meet Adrian's, heavy with shared understanding. They were buried, Eleanor says, voice steady but laced with pain. Some marked closed without review, others vanished. The room hums with outrage. The prosecutor presses. Who gave those orders? Eleanor pauses, then names him. Judge Leonard Hayes. The revelation lands like a gavel strike. Hayes, Adrian's mentor, once a beacon, now a betrayer. Why suppress them? The prosecutor asks. Eleanor's voice wavers. He said it'd erode trust, make the courthouse seem weak. Adrian's face is stone, but the sting of betrayal burns deep. Eleanor's words peel back layers of deceit. Hayes wanted calm, not justice. He said Benton's methods worked for certain crowds. Adrian's pen stills, the lie too familiar. Abuse excused for stability. Eleanor grows bolder. I saw black staff harassed, witnesses ignored. I reported it, got told, stay in line. Her voice cracks. I'm done staying quiet. The testimony shatters the room's silence, exposing a system that shielded cruelty. Adrian nods subtly, urging her on, each word a hammer against the courthouse's facade. The gallery shifts, reporters scribbling, law students wide-eyed. Adrian calls a recess, the room rising as she exits. A protester in the back clutches a sign, eyes locked on her, whispering, "Keep going." In her chambers, Adrian sheds her robe, staring at its folds. Its power and vulnerability woven together. Without it, she was stripped. With it, she's untouchable. The contradiction fuels her. A knock, her clerk, urgent. Your Honor, DOJ's escalating. They're reviewing Hayes's records now. Adrienne nods. Good, let's dig deeper. The door shuts. Adrienne exhales, resolve hardening. Outside, the courthouse steps are alive. Protesters chant. Signs demand no more cover-ups. The crowds groan, diverse, united, their voices a steady drumbeat. Adrienne watches from her window, feeling their pulse. This isn't just her fight, it's theirs. A knock. Reverend Samuel Tate returns, eyes kind but fierce. Judge Carter. More are coming forward. Victims, witnesses, they trust you now. He hands her another list, names spilling over. They're ready, he says. Adrian grips it, nodding. So am I. Tate leaves, and Adrian studies the names, lives silenced, now speaking. The courtroom awaits, packed tighter, air electric. She re-enters, the room rising, not just for protocol but for her. The gavel taps. Court resumes. The prosecution calls a new witness, Marcus Holt, 55, a black former security officer. He limps slightly, a scar from a 2003 incident. Sworn in, he speaks plainly. I worked here, 2006 to 2014, saw Benton's cruelty grow, reported him twice. Both complaints disappeared. Adrienne listens, unflinching, truth piling higher. Holt's voice carries weight. Benton targeted black folks, interns, visitors, anyone who looked wrong. By 2012, he was a menace. The prosecutor asks, "What happened to your reports?" Holt grimaces. "Supervisors said Benton was essential for control, told me to drop it." Murmurs ripple. Adrienne's gavel quiets them. Holt meets her gaze. "I left because I couldn't stomach the silence. But you, Judge Carter, sitting there after what he did, that's why I'm here." The room feels it. Not just testimony, but a turning tide. Adrienne lets Holt's words settle, their echo reshaping the room. She nods, signaling the prosecutor to continue. "Did anyone support your complaints?" Holt shakes his head. Number Hayes himself dismissed them, said it'd disrupt operations. The name stings again. Each mention a crack in Adrienne's trust. Holt adds, "I saw young black women searched daily, humiliated. I should have fought harder." Adrienne's voice is soft but firm. "You're fighting now." The gallery nods, some tearing up, sensing the shift from silence to reckoning. The testimony ends, and Adrienne calls another recess. The courtroom buzzes as she retreats to her chambers. She stares at her reflection, scarred scalp, fierce eyes. The woman in the mirror isn't just a judge, she's a warrior. A knock, her clerk hesitant. "Your Honor, the press is exploding. They're calling this a historic purge." Adrienne doesn't smile. "It's not a purge, it's accountability." She stands, robe in hand. "Prep the attorneys, we're pushing forward." The door shuts, and she braces for the next wave. The courthouse pulses with energy. Outside, protesters swell, their signs bolder. And the silence, justice for all. Reporters crowd the steps, cameras rolling. Inside, Adrienne re-enters, the room rising, air taut, the gavel taps. We proceed. The prosecution calls a civilian, Tanya Wells, 38, a black mother. She takes the stand, eyes hollow but resolute. "My son, 15, was roughed up by Benton in 2013, right here. I filed a complaint. It vanished." Adrienne leans forward, pen poised, ready to carve truth from pain. Tanya's voice trembles but holds. "Benton shoved my boy against a wall for talking back, broke his wrist. They said he tripped." The gallery gasps. "What happened when you reported it?" the prosecutor asks. Tanya's eyes glisten. "Hayes' office dismissed it, said there was no evidence." Adrienne's jaw tightens. Another lie, another betrayal. Tanya looks at her. "I stopped coming here, thought it was pointless, but you, Judge Carter, you're why I'm back." Adrienne nods, her presence a silent vow to listen. Tanya steps down, the room heavy with her truth. Adrienne's gaze sweeps the defense table, where officers shift uncomfortably. She calls a brief recess, retreating to her chambers. The folder of complaints sits on her desk. Hayes' signature's a glaring wound. She traces one, his words echoing, "You'll change the bench, Adrienne." Now she sees the cost of his order. A knock, her clerk, urgent. "Your Honor, DOJ's found more. Hayes buried complaints beyond Benton." Adrienne's eyes harden. "Good, keep digging." She returns, the courtroom packed, air crackling. The gavel taps. Court resumes. The prosecution calls another witness, Jamal Pierce, 44, a black former janitor. He speaks softly but firmly. "Worked here, 2008 to 2015. Saw Benton harass black visitors daily. Reported him once, 2012. Got told, mind your place." The prosecutor asks, "Who dismissed it?" Pierce sighs. "Hayes' office said it'd stir trouble." Adrienne's pen pauses, the pattern clear. Pierce adds, "Your Honor, your fight gives us a voice." The room feels it. Adrienne nods, letting Pierce's words resonate. The gallery is riveted, some clutching hands, others taking notes. She glances at the defense. Attorneys whisper, sensing the tide turn. The prosecutor continues. Did you see others targeted? Pierce nods. Young black women, always. Benton enjoyed it. Adrienne's scalp tingles, a reminder of her own violation. She speaks, voice calm but piercing. Mr. Pierce, did Hayes ever address these patterns? Pierce shakes his head. Never. Said it was under control. The lie lands, heavy, exposing complicity. The testimony closes, and Adrienne calls a recess. The room hums as she exits, reporters typing, protesters outside chanting louder. In her chambers, she stares at the folder, Hayes's name a scar. A knock. Her clerk, cautious. Your Honor, the Senate's pushing for a hearing on courthouse oversight. Adrienne's lips twitch. Let them come. She stands, robe heavy but grounding. Get the attorneys ready. We're not slowing down. The door shuts, and she steels herself, the fight growing sharper, more urgent. Outside, the crowd swells. Students, activists, families, signs blazing. Truth over order. The courthouse is a beacon now, its steps a stage for change. Adrienne watches briefly, their resolve fueling hers. A knock. Her sister Lena, 47, enters, eyes soft but fierce. You're shaking this place apart, she says. Adrienne exhales. It's overdue. Lena hands her a photo, Adrienne, younger, with braids. You're still her, Lena says. Adrienne nods, clutching it. The courtroom calls and she's ready to answer, unbowed. Adrienne re-enters, the room rising, air electric. The gavel taps. We proceed. The prosecution calls a retired marshal, Clara Dixon, 60, black, voice steady. I served here, 2002 to 2016, she says. Benton's cruelty was open. Black women, kids targeted constantly. I reported him 2010. Hayes buried it. Adrienne listens, unflinching. Why no follow-up? The prosecutor asks. Clara's eyes harden. Hayes said it'd complicate things. Said Benton was effective. The gallery murmurs, outraged. Adrienne's gavel quiets them, her resolve deepening. Clara continues. I saw black interns searched daily, mocked. I quit because I couldn't watch anymore. She looks at Adrienne. Your Honor, you're why I'm speaking now. The words hit, not as praise, but as responsibility. Adrienne nods, voice firm. Thank you, Ms. Dixon. The testimony piles onto Hayes's betrayal, each word a brick in the case against the system. The defense shifts, uneasy, as the prosecutor wraps up. Adrienne glances at the clock, mid-afternoon, but the fight feels timeless, urgent, unstoppable. Adrienne calls a recess, the room buzzing as she retreats. In her chambers, she stares at the photo Lena gave her. Youthful braids, fearless eyes. The mirror shows scars, but the fire remains. A knock, her clerk, urgent. Your Honor, DOJ's uncovered emails. Hayes coached supervisors to manage complaints. Adrienne's jaw tightens. Forward them to the Senate. She stands, robe in hand. Prep the next witness. The door shuts, and she braces for the storm, knowing each step exposes more, demands more. The courtroom fills again, air thick with anticipation. Adrienne takes the bench, the room rising, gavel sharp. Court resumes. The prosecution calls a community organizer, Malik Gordon, 36, black, voice resonant. I protested here in 2014, he says. Benton attacked me, broke my arm. My complaint, gone. Adrienne listens, pen moving. Who handled it? The prosecutor asks. Gordon's eyes flash. Hayes's office said it was unsubstantiated. The pattern tightens, Hayes's shadow looming. Gordon looks at Adrienne. You're our voice now. Adrienne nods, Gordon's words fueling her. The gallery leans in, some tearing up, others nodding. She speaks, voice piercing. "Mr. Gordon, did anyone investigate your claim?" He shakes his head. "No, Your Honor. They said it'd disrupt trust." The lie echoes Hayes's playbook. Adrienne's gaze sweeps the defense, who avoid her eyes. The prosecutor wraps up, and Adrienne calls a brief recess. The room hums, reporters typing furiously. Outside, the crowd chants louder, their signs a testament to the fight Adrienne's leading. In her chambers, Adrienne stares at the folder. Hayes's signature's a betrayal etched in ink. A knock, her clerk, cautious. "Your Honor, the press is calling you a reformer." The Senate's scheduling hearings. Adrienne's eyes narrow. "Let them talk. We're not done." She stands, robe heavy but empowering. "Bring in the attorneys." The door shuts, and she prepares, knowing the courtroom's no longer just a room, it's a battlefield, and she's wielding truth as her weapon, unyielding, ready for more. The courtroom pulses, packed beyond capacity. Adrienne steps to the bench, the room rising, air electric. The gavel taps. "We proceed," she addresses the room. New evidence, Benton's complaints, their suppression, and who enabled it, enters the record. Her clerk distributes copies. The defense objects, but Adrienne's voice cuts through. "Enough. This court won't shield silence." She faces the gallery. Every signature chose predators over victims, fear over justice. That ends today. The room stills, her words a declaration, a promise unbroken. A voice calls, "Your Honor?" A woman, late 60s, stands by the door, hesitant. Adrienne nods. She steps forward, hands trembling. "I'm Ruth Coleman. In 2010, Benton roughed me up here for questioning my grandson's arrest. Cracked my shoulder. My complaint? They said I slipped." Adrienne listens, unflinching. "Was it filed?" Ruth nods. "Yes, but dismissed by Hayes's office." She straightens. "I'm here now." Adrienne's gaze softens. "Thank you." Hands begin to rise, voices ready to break years of silence. Adrienne Carter stands at the bench, watching as voices rise one by one, breaking decades of silence. The courtroom is a crucible, each story a spark. She remains still, letting the truth unfold, unhurried, undeniable. The final day of the hearing dawns with a storm. Rain pounds Richmond, flooding streets, yet people stream in, reporters, protesters, witnesses, undeterred. Inside, the air crackles, alive with the weight of what's coming. Adrienne pauses at the bench, feeling the shift. Not justice yet, but history in motion. Adrienne removes her robe, folding it carefully, laying it across the chair. She stands exposed, not as a judge, but as a woman, scarred yet unbowed. "I've worn this robe for years," she begins, voice steady. "Upheld rulings, followed rules, but I've also stayed silent too long. Today, that ends." The gallery leans in, breathless. This court finds Deputy Carl Benton guilty of abuse of power, civil rights violations, and misconduct. She steps forward, robeless, her presence raw, commanding, a reckoning in human form. Adrienne's voice rises, clear, cutting. But it doesn't stop with Benton. This court demands review of every complaint filed against him and investigation into those who buried them. She nods to the court reporter. "Record that." Silence grips the room, heavy, reverent. She lifts a folder from the desk, unopened until now. "This is the Carter Mandate," she declares, "effective immediately for all courthouse staff." The gallery stirs, heads lifting at her name. It requires anti-bias training, screenings, and zero tolerance for discrimination. She holds the folder aloft. "I'll take this to the circuit, the judiciary, the Senate if needed. What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, and I'll ensure it doesn't." The room pulses, nods, quiet tears, hands clasped. Adrienne continues, "This isn't revenge, it's accountability, staring down a broken system and saying, 'No more.'" She eyes the defense, those who shielded Benton. "You're on notice." The gallery hums, the weight of her words sinking in, a promise etched in the courthouse's bones. Adrienne taps the folder. "I'm sending recommendations for disbarment and charges to the DOJ for every official who hid the truth." The room freezes, a pen scratching faintly. She glances at the arched window. Rain rages, but sunlight breaks through, spilling across the marble. She nods, accepting the moment. "One final matter," she says, turning to the side door. Officers open it. Carl Benton enters, cuffed, no uniform, face hollow. He stands beside his defender, eyes down, the man he was gone. Adrienne faces Benton, not with vengeance, but with resolve. "Mr. Benton, this court sentences you to the maximum. 7 years for abuse of power, 6 for civil rights violations, 1 for obstruction." She pauses, letting it land. "That's the law, now the human part." Her voice lowers, sharp. "You decided who deserved dignity, thought your badge made you untouchable, that silence would save you. You were wrong." She nods to the officers. "Take him away." Benton's led out, the room still, witnessing. No cheers follow, no applause, just silence, heavy with meaning. Adrienne closes the folder, the Carter mandate, her legacy taking root. "Court is adjourned," she says, gavel tapping. The room empties slowly, people lingering, whispering, some touching the benches as if anchoring to this moment. Adrienne retreats to her chambers, alone. The robe hangs quiet, no longer a shield but a symbol. She sits, staring at the folder, its weight not a burden but a purpose spoken aloud, a line drawn for justice. A knock breaks her thoughts. Her sister, Lena, 47, enters, wordless, carrying a stool and clippers. She sets them behind Adrienne, plugging in the tool. "Ready?" Lena asks, eyes soft but steady. Adrienne meets her gaze in the mirror. No fear, only clarity. "Yeah," she whispers. Lena works gently, each pass deliberate, trimming uneven patches, not in shame but as a choice, a reclaiming. Strands fall, a clean slate. Lena hands her a mirror. Adrienne looks, seeing strength, not scars. Adrienne studies her reflection, bold, bare, unapologetic. Lena grins. "You could rock this and own every room." Adrienne nods, voice soft. "This is me now." Lena corrects. "This is you, always." They share a smile, the moment grounding. That night, Adrienne leaves the courthouse. Head bare, no scarf, no shame. Under Richmond's lights, a small crowd spots her. A man, 80s, gray-haired, approaches, voice trembling. "I never thought I'd see someone like you do this." Adrienne takes his hand, grateful. Behind him, a teen girl, 17, shyly removes her cap, revealing a shaved head and nods. Adrienne nods back. A silent bond. Something passes between them. Strength, shared. Later, on her porch, Adrienne gazes at her quiet street, lights flickering. Her phone buzzes, news alerts, texts, but she lets them wait. Tonight, she breathes, hearing herself for the first time in years. The storm's passed, but its echo lingers, a reminder of what she's sparked, what's still to come. Morning comes, and Adrienne returns to the courthouse, business as usual, on paper. But the air's different. The robe stays off longer. Glances carry respect, not dismissal. In the elevator, a janitor, 50s, gives a subtle fist-to-chest salute, pride in his eyes. A young guard, 20s, offers a shy thumbs up, then blushes. Entering the courtroom for a routine case, the room rises before the clerk speaks, a first. Adrienne sits, nodding once. The law moves on, but the space feels fuller, truer. Cases pile up, disputes, motions, but justice now carries Adrian's mark. It's not just rules, it's who they serve. A headline catches her eye, taped to the break room fridge. Judge fights back after assault, sparks reform. Below, in marker, our judge. She smiles faintly. She didn't seek to be a symbol, but standing firm became a beacon. Months pass, the courthouse shifting. Not perfect, but present, alive with voices once ignored. The Carter mandate spreads, other judges adopting it, cities calling for details. Adrienne didn't plan a movement, but refusing to shrink started one. One afternoon, she visits a middle school, invited to speak on courage. Expecting a small group, she finds a packed room. Kids with signs, essays, one reading, "Be like Judge Carter." She keeps it brief, letting their questions lead. How do you face hate? Did the Clippers hurt? Ever want to quit? She answers honestly. A shy boy, 13, asks, "Do you still trust the system?" Adrienne pauses, weighing her words carefully. "I don't trust what the system was," Adrienne says, "but I believe in what it can be, because of people like you asking that." The room nods, some kids tearing up. She leaves, eyes stinging, not from pain, but hope. Weeks later, the White House calls, not for a photo op, but for the Presidential Medal of Justice. Adrienne accepts, not for glory, but for who'll be there. Lena, her clerk, Lisa the intern, now in law school, Reverend Tate, and one special guest. The ceremony's grand. Marble steps, dignitaries, cameras. Adrienne insisted on one seat. The boy from the school, the question asker, front row. As she steps to the podium, applause swells, but she doesn't wave, just speaks. "I wasn't meant to be here, not because I didn't earn it, but because systems like this weren't built for people like me." The room stills. "I was told I didn't belong, even after reaching this bench, but I stayed, stood, made them see me." Adrienne's voice carries, steady. "I'm here because I survived a moment meant to break me, and because I knew too many who didn't." Cameras flash, but she ignores them. "This medal isn't mine alone. It's for every woman silenced, every man denied justice, every child who saw the law as fear." She pauses, eyes on the boy, who's scribbling notes. "It's for you." The applause is deep, respectful, not loud. A room grasping her truth, its weight settling into history. As Adrienne steps down, the boy meets her eyes, nodding, his notebook clutched tight. Lena hugs her, whispering, "You did it!" Reverend Tate nods, pride in his gaze. Lisa, now 23, beams, law books in hand. The ceremony ends, but its echo lingers. Back in Richmond, the courthouse feels different. Still busy, but alive with purpose. The Carter mandate's in motion, a bill drafted in Congress. Adrienne works on cases, rulings, but each decision carries her intent. Justice for the unseen, the unheard. One evening, Adrienne walks the courthouse halls, steps fuller, unapologetic. A clerk, 30s, black, pauses, smiling. "You changed this place, Your Honor." Adrienne shakes her head. "We did." The halls, once cold, feel warmer, not perfect, but shifting. Outside, protesters still gather. Fewer now, but steady, signs fading, but messages clear. A new one reads, "Carter's Court, where truth wins." She didn't seek fame, but her stand gave others permission to rise. The law moves, but now it listens, sees, holds space. Months later, Adrienne speaks at a community center, invited by activists. The room's packed, families, students, survivors of Benton's cruelty. They share stories, some new, some decades old. A woman, 70s, grabs Adrienne's hand. "You made us believe again." Adrienne nods, throat tight. A teen boy, 16, shows her a sketch. Adrian at the bench, gavel raised. "This is you," he says. She smiles, seeing herself not as a hero, but as a woman who refused to shrink, sparking a chain reaction. Back at the courthouse, Adrian oversees a training session, the Carter Mandate in action. Bailiffs, marshals, staff sit, some reluctant, others eager, learning anti-bias protocols. She watches from the back, quiet, knowing change is slow but real. A young marshal, 25, approaches after. "I was scared to speak up before, not anymore." Adrian nods. That's the point. The session ends, and she returns to her chambers. The folder on her desk now a blueprint, not a burden, guiding the future. The mandate spreads. Other districts adopt it. Judges call for advice. Adrian fields requests, but stays focused. Cases, rulings, justice. One morning, a letter arrives from the Senate, thanking her for sparking reform. She sets it aside, uninterested in praise. Her fight was never for accolades, but for those like the boy, the woman, the countless silenced. She glances at her reflection. Hair regrowing, uneven but hers. The scars remain, but so does her fire, burning brighter, fueling her to keep going. Adrienne visits another school, this time high schoolers. They've studied her case, written papers. A girl, 15, asks, "How do you keep going when it's hard?" Adrienne smiles faintly. "You remember who you're fighting for." Another student, 17, holds up a sign. "Judge Carter equals justice." She laughs, shaking her head, but the kids insist. They see her not as a judge, but as proof that one voice can shift a system. She leaves, their hope clinging to her, a quiet fuel. At the courthouse, Adrian notices small changes. Staff greet her with nods, not fear. Black interns walk taller. A new guard, 28, black, stops her. "I applied because of you." Adrian nods, humbled. The Carter Mandate's now law in the district, with national talks growing. She didn't plan to rewrite justice, but Standing Firm did. One night, she sits on her porch, phone off, stars above. The fight's not over, but she's carved a path, and others are walking it. A year later, Adrienne's invited to a national judicial conference. She speaks plainly, no notes. Justice isn't a robe or a gavel. It's seeing the unseen, hearing the silenced. The room, filled with judges, stands, applauding. She doesn't bask, just nods, thinking of the boy, the woman, the teen with the sketch. Back home, her chambers feel like hers, not a fortress, but a space for truth. The mandate's in textbooks now, and she's still just Adrian, fighting, always. One morning, a letter from the boy arrives, now 14, accepted to a law program. "You showed me I can change things," he writes. Adrian smiles, tucking it away. The courthouse hums, cases rolling, but the air's lighter. Staff share stories of Benton's victims now heard. A new sign outside reads, "Carter's Courthouse, Justice Lives Here." She didn't seek it, but her name's a beacon, a call to stand tall. The fight continues, but Adrienne knows she's not alone anymore. Adrienne walks the halls, steps steady, head high. A clerk, 40s, black, stops her. "You gave us a voice, Your Honor." Adrienne shakes her head. "You always had it." The halls pulse with purpose. Not perfection, but progress. Outside, a small crowd lingers, signs faded but spirits strong. A girl, 18, holds one. Judge Carter, our hero. Adrienne smiles, waving. She didn't set out to lead a movement, but by refusing to break, she did. The law bends now because she stood. In a state prison, Carl Benton, 47, watches a grainy TV. Adrienne Carter, the woman he tried to break, accepts the Presidential Medal of Justice. Her strength, once his target, now shines nationally. He sits, motionless, staring as the screen fades. The silence isn't punishment, it's truth, unyielding, stripping his power bare. Adrian's stand wasn't just a courtroom victory. It was a reckoning for dignity, exposing a system's flaws, demanding accountability from those who hid behind badges, robes, or silence. Adrian's story transcends one courthouse. It's about resilience, truth, and saying enough. Judge Carter, 52, didn't just enforce law, she redrew its boundaries, showing justice isn't punishment alone, but responsibility. Her courage, rising after humiliation, reminds us progress is hard-won, costly, born from ordinary people doing the extraordinary. If you've faced injustice or felt powerless, her stand proves power lies not in titles, but in refusing to shrink. Her legacy, the Carter Mandate, lives, urging us to stand, speak, and reshape justice together. This story hits deep for those who've seen change stall or resistance harden. Adrian's fight shows hope isn't naive, it's built. Maybe you've known unfairness, watched a loved one suffer, or felt the system's weight. Her example says you're not powerless. Share this if it moved you, if it gave voice to your own fight. Let's keep telling stories that challenge, inspire, and demand truth. Justice doesn't end in court. It starts with us, now, united, carrying Adrian's fire forward. Adrian Carter's name now echoes beyond Richmond, a symbol of unyielding truth. Her courtroom became a mirror, forcing a system to face itself. If her story stirs you, don't let it fade. Pass it on, amplify it, let it fuel your own stand. The law bends when we demand it, when we refuse silence. Together we build justice. Not tomorrow, but today, with every voice that rises, inspired by a woman who turned pain into power. In the heart of Richmond's federal courthouse, under the weight of a 7:45 a.m. sun casting shadows across granite steps, Judge Adrian Carter, 52, faced a crucible that would echo beyond its marble walls. Her story: a black woman stripped of dignity by Deputy Carl Benton's clippers, yet rising to wield justice, teaches us two searing lessons. First, resilience is power forged in pain. When Benton's cruelty sheared Adrian's braids, leaving her scalp raw 300 feet from her bench, she didn't break. She donned her robe, took her seat, and turned humiliation into a gavel strike, sentencing Benton to 14 years and birthing the Carter Mandate. Her stand, mirrored by voices like Eleanor Ramsey's and James Tillman's, shows that strength isn't the absence of scars but the courage to stand tall despite them. Second, justice demands dismantling silence. Adrian uncovered 16 buried complaints, exposing Judge Leonard Hayes's complicity in a system that shielded predators for order. Her fight, sparked in a 12 by 12-foot screening room and carried to the Senate, reveals that true accountability rips through bureaucracy's veil, forcing institutions to face their stains. As protesters' signs waved 50 feet below her window and her presidential medal gleamed, Adrian's legacy roared. Silence is complicity, and truth is the blade that cuts it down. These lessons burn bright. Resilience turns victims into victors, and justice begins when we speak, unyielding, against the storm. If Adrian could transform a courthouse's heart, what can we, together, reshape in our own corners of this fractured world? What inspires you to stand tall against injustice, like Judge Adrian Carter did in her fight for truth? Share your thoughts below, like this video, and comment to join the conversation. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories of courage and change that spark hope and empower us all. Let's build a community that amplifies voices and drives impact. Hit that subscribe button and stay connected for more.